Thanks everyone for being here. We'll get started with an opening statement from Coach, then go into questions. After Coach, we'll have 4 players. We'll have Preston Stone, Caleb Komolafe, Griffin Wilde, and Robert Fitzgerald. Start with an opening statement and go into questions. Coach?
Excited about the win, excited about, some of the improvements that we're seeing within our football team. This is going to be an opportunity for us to celebrate a win and also very clearly identify things that we need to improve upon and get better at. We had an opportunity there in the second half to really pull away from a team and close out a football game and didn't do that. We got a long sustained drive with an opportunity to, finish with a touchdown. Ultimately end up deciding to kick a field goal. I believe, which would have put us up 14 points, 2 full touchdowns, and then we end up getting a field goal blocked. Those things can't happen. Opportunity for us to learn and grow and learn how to close out teams when you got them on the ropes in the fourth quarter. Also learned that our football team can withstand some adversity. It showed a great deal of toughness and togetherness. The chatter on the sideline was never panicked. It was always looking out for one another. Hey, we got your back. I mean, there was, in all 3 phases, guys, willing to step up and understand it was going to take all 3 phases. And, that's how you got to win games in the Big Ten. There's going to be close games in the fourth quarter. And, our group showed today that they could do that, and proud of them for that.
Coach, big day on the ground for both your lead running backs. How, especially in recent weeks, have you seen Caleb and Joe really build off of each other's energy and performances? Yeah,
there's just a certain confidence with all our backs, but specifically Caleb and Joe in terms of the guys that they're running behind, and the way that they're finishing runs. Both have unique skill sets and play well off of one another. And, ultimately, I think that's a group in our offense is excited about the way that we can run the football. And you saw today, especially in the first half, the efficiency and an opportunity for explosiveness that can show up in our passing game when we're running the ball effectively as well.
Chris?
Coach, I was wondering if you could explain the decision-making process of kicking the field goal instead of trying to score the touchdown there.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were up 11 points at that point. And limited possession game, field goal kicker for UCLA that's got great range. There was a breaking point there where we would have potentially gone for it on fourth down, but the opportunity to go up 14 points, 2 full touchdowns, with the way that our defense was playing at the time, was something that we felt was wise and the best decision.
Defense was strong early, and then UCLA really put together some long drives as it went on. But did something change, and did you still feel that confidence at the end of the game in that?
Yeah, I think there was, opportunities on third down. I'm not a huge check the stats right after the game, but, UCLA was 50% on third down, and there were some third and long opportunities to get off the field. The one that stands out to me was the long scramble by Nico, when we bring pressure where, we got a really good call on, like our pressure, like the coverage. We can't let them get out of the pocket in that scenario. They did find a little bit of rhythm there. And, ultimately proud of the way that our defense bowed up the last 2 opportunities, the last 2 series. But there's, when we talk about who we are, there's going to be some times where we're not concerned about how many yards we gave up, but we got to bow up in the tight zone, and we have to be one of the best teams in the country on third down. That's an area that I know Tim is emphasizing, but we need to continue to find answers to be better on third down.
Yeah.
Coach, you went mostly with Drew and Hayden as your second and third wide receivers today instead of what we've usually seen in Frank and Ricky. Obviously, a lot of drop problems in the past have plagued this wide receiving core outside of Griffin, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit just about the decision to use those 2 guys more and what your overall thoughts were about your receiving core's performance today.
Yeah, Frank and Rick will continue to be huge parts of what we do offensively, and ultimately, Drew and Hayden most recently have shown a lot of progress and are making a lot of plays and kind of going with the hot hand. But that's a group that needs to continue to be a group that is a threat because of their depth and the diversity in that room in terms of skill sets. Frank and Rick are guys that we certainly believe in and continue to do a great job, but Hayden and Drew have really started to come on and are seeing more and more opportunities because of that.
Charlie?
Coach, on that first drive, or on the first half, 3 scores on all 3 drives. What do you think was just working well in that first half for you to be able to produce points on each drive?
Yeah, the run game was certainly effective. Passing game, I thought we were in really good rhythm. There were some sustained drives there in the second half that you're like really excited about the way that we're moving the ball. But whether it be a negative play or a penalty or something that just gets us out of rhythm, things to improve upon. And ultimately that drive that we've been alluding to with the field goal, we put together a great drive. We're down inside the 5-yard line. That's got to just be a mentality thing for us offensively, that we got to find a way to finish that drive in the end zone.
I think, since you've been head coach here, most times your running backs have kind of been by committee, but, Caleb had a 100-yard day first time in your tenure here. 27 carries, is that kind of, I don't think you're going to give him 27 carries every game, but is with him as the lead back and that kind of ratio, is that the expectation going forward?
It's going to be week to week in terms of what we're seeing, but the thing that Caleb has proven, Matt, is that he can carry that load and the level of consistency. And a guy like himself, a guy like Joe, sometimes on offense you're searching for those explosives. Those guys, I think, would be the first one to tell you there's still some opportunities out there for us in our run game to even be more effective than it's been. Making a second, third level defender miss and turning those plays into explosive plays. But Caleb just has continued to grow, and we got some running back by committee out there for sure. But a guy like Como having 27 carries and over 100 yards, that fires me up. That's something that's going to have to show up throughout the season.
A couple more, Chris.
When you talk about the two-headed rushing attack with Caleb, Joseph, how much trust do you have in those guys now, kind of being the identity guys? I guess the tip of the spear of the offense, kind of going forward, and everybody kind of following what they're able to do.
Yeah, I think immense trust in those guys. Just the way that they carry themselves. Cam Porter's been such an incredible influence in that room and continues to be. Just the way that Caleb has really grown up and stepped into his own as a running back, the way that Joe Hyman operates, the development of the other young guys in that room. And ultimately there's a certain level of confidence in that backfield right now about who they're running behind, and that's just something that we have to continue to build off of. And again, really proud of the way that Preston played today behind that offense line. There's a couple of just decisions that you see where he tucks the ball, runs, makes positive yards, or picks up a first down. There are so many things to look back on and say, these are things we need to improve upon. It shouldn't have been as close of a game as it was. Credit to Tim Skipper and their staff and their team for staying together and, making it a game in the fourth quarter. But, we got to be honest with ourselves. That shouldn't have been as tight of a football game as it was. We got to learn how to put our opponents away in the fourth quarter. And ultimately, when you have a mentality and identity with an offensive line and running back room, that's something that we should be confident in doing.
Coach, on that last drive, it looked like Anto whiffed on a sack a little bit, and then 1 or 2 plays later, he ends up getting the sack to essentially clinch the game. A little bit emblematic of kind of the season that he's had where, he's getting wins but hasn't quite put the finishing touches on at least the statistics part of it. How would you say that you've seen him, really battle through this season and just kind of persevere to end up, having the game that he had today?
Yeah, with maturity. He's I think there's a lot of guys that would go, stat chasing, and Anto Saka's not that. We've gotten hurt on a couple draws earlier in the season where we've had to be aware in terms of the way that we work our pass rush mechanics in those situations that maybe are not always advantageous to a pure pass rusher like Anto. How do you rack up sack totals? Well, you get into games like this, where you got a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter and you get offenses in 2-minute drill. But ultimately, the last couple snaps that I saw Anto Saka out there, looked pretty damn good. So excited about what's ahead.
Last one, Charlie.
Coach, what did you make of those last 2 defensive drives just to kind of hold UCLA from driving down the field and preventing them from getting a score?
Yeah, I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of Tim McGargle, proud of the defensive staff. I thought the guys just did a really good job of staying the course and keeping poise. After the game starts to get tight and you just gave up a touchdown and a 2-point play and, you're a few plays earlier, or a few minutes earlier, you're with the ball inside the 5-yard line with a chance to go up 17 points. They didn't flinch. They found a way to close out a football game, and that's defensive players should relish that opportunity. Now, we get a chance to go out on the field in a 2-minute situation and close out the game, and proud of the way that our guys did that.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
To everyone's left, Griffin Wilde. On everyone's right, Robert Fitzgerald. Go write your questions for Griffin and Rob. Go ahead and make sure you direct your question to whoever you're asking. Chris?
Robert, just kind of curious to get the chance to close out this game on defense. So what was that like, that final drive? Kind of seeing the pass rush get there, you guys on coverage, kind of helping close out the game there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great feeling. Those are the moments that you dream of as a defensive player, to go out there and help win the game for your team. And I feel like Coach McGargle, Coach Barnett, and our whole defensive staff did a great job of getting us prepared for that throughout the week.
Griffin caught your first touchdown here at Northwestern, also close to 100 yards. How did you feel you were able to start the game so strong, and then what did you feel that UCLA was able to do to kind of limit your production down the stretch?
Yeah, I thought just the preparation that was from this week. I mean, the coaches do a great job of putting the guys on offense to have success. They put them in position so they can have success. And then I don't know if it was much of UCLA what they did, but I mean, credit to them. They did a great job of limiting production in the second half.
Jake?
Rob, it's another game for you with 9 total tackles. I mean, what do you just make of your ability to just put your body on the line to sell out for the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I just get put in good positions to go out there and make plays. And I put my body on the line for the other 10 guys on the field, and they do the same thing for me. So we got each other's backs. The offense got our back. We got their back. So, yeah.
Matt?
Griffin, you were the #1 option in South Dakota State. Now you're the #1 option here at Northwestern. Is there a sort of mental switch between FCS and FBS, or is it kind of the same mentality as the go-to guy?
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of the same mentality. Like I would say as a competitor, you want to be the best no matter where you're at. So just having that mindset that you belong and the confidence in yourself that you can make plays regardless of where you're at is something that's very important.
Yeah, go ahead.
Robert, the secondary's been a little bit banged up. How do you see a guy like Ori step up today with some big pass breakups and big moments?
Yeah, I mean, Ori had a phenomenal day. He had a huge day for us, and he's really the leader in that cornerback room. He's dealt with some injuries the past year and a half, and I'm just so proud of the way that he's fought back, and he really stepped up today, and just can't be more happy for Ori.
Charlie?
Griff, what did you just make of Caleb Komalafe's performance today?
Yeah, I mean, they're calling him Caleb the Beast Komolafe. So, I mean, he's a great player. And then when he's running behind an O-line that's just starting to really mold together, it's showing up for big time for us.
Anything else for these guys? Yeah, Matt?
Rob, I don't want to overlook University of Louisiana Monroe next week, but in 2 weeks you played the #3 team in the country in Penn State, and you had what I thought was a fantastic game as a defensive unit. So are there any factors that are running through your mind that you might take away from today and implement in 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, we gave up a couple big runs today. We've given up a couple big runs this year. So outside of those big runs, I feel like our run defense have been pretty top tier. So we got to figure out a way to stop giving up big runs. We got to figure out a way to get off the field on 3rd down, and we got to figure out a way to create more takeaways.
Last one, Gavin.
For either one of you, looking at the season as a whole, you guys are now 2-2, 1-1 in Big Ten play. Still a lot of season left to go, but what does a win like this, especially one where you kind of have to hold on and battle adversity through to the end, what does a win like this tell you guys about your team moving forward?
I think that it kind of just shows us how resilient we are. We got up on them early, and then they came back, and we found a way to win. That's what it comes down to, is finding a way to win. And that was a huge game for us. we really needed that win. Being 2-2 is a huge difference than being 1-3. So we're back to 500, and we're going to go and try to win out these rest of the games.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're having questions for Preston. Jake?
Preston, how does just the offense as a whole derive confidence from playing behind an offensive line of this caliber?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably the best unit we have on the whole team. Those guys are warriors. They play together. They play selfless football. It showed up today that when we got to lean on those guys to go win a football game, we absolutely can.
Chris?
All right, Preston, when Western Illinois comes, Cam Porter goes down for the year. Now you got Caleb, Joseph, kind of leading the running attack there. They feel like they've kind of taken the point of attack offensively. When they go, you guys go. What kind of trust do you have in those two guys to get the offense going, even when everybody else is just maybe trying to find their feet, and you can follow them in that way?
Yeah, I mean, they can. You saw it today. They can definitely jumpstart our offense when we're stalling out a little bit. We gotta find ways to get those two the ball, whether it's between the tackles, jet sweeps with Joe on the outside, or just calling a play and giving Caleb the ball. Usually something good's going to happen. So I was super proud of the way those guys played today, and we'll be leaning on them the rest of the year.
Louis?
Hey, Preston, you guys scored all 3 possessions in the first half. You had 17 at halftime, and then you didn't score in the second half. Was it something that they were doing? You had a few drives, but you couldn't get any points out of them.
Yeah, definitely the first drive coming out of the half. I had a few mental errors that could have led to us, if they weren't there, could have led to us scoring points. And then, we didn't do anything wrong to not score, but we weren't capitalizing on opportunities when we had an advantageous look. So definitely, as we move forward, big point of emphasis for us as an offense is when we got them on their heels, we got to keep our foot pinned on the gas, and keep it rolling.
Griffin's been the team's lead receiver throughout the first 4 games, but you had the opportunity to get him his first touchdown. What has that bond been like for you guys so far, and what did it mean to have him get his first score?
Yeah, Griffin's the man. He's a special dude. I've been blessed to play with some really good receivers since I've been in college, like Rashee Rice and Danny Gray, and Griffin's right up there. He's one of the best receivers I've ever thrown to, and we're really lucky that we have him on our team.
Jake?
So what do you make of your defense's ability to bunker down those final 2 drives and get a pair of crucial stops?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
What do you make of your defense's ability to just really bunker down on those final 2 drives and get a pair of crucial stops?
Yeah, that really exemplified kind of the character we have on our team. You saw Rob Fitz was flying all over the place today. Ori had been battling some injuries, since camp, and he stepped up huge today. So obviously we want to do our part and put our defense in a situation where they don't have to win the game for us like that. But it was awesome to see how they stepped up to the play at the end, and I wasn't surprised that they did.
Gavin?
Preston, you had that 15-yard scramble run. I believe it was in the third quarter. Came up not quite limping, but definitely looked like maybe something was off. You ended up hyping up the crowd anyway. Seemed like you were probably fine for the rest of the game, but just wanted to ask, did anything in particular happen on that play? Do you feel banged up at all, or how do you feel kind of after the game physically?
No, yeah, I feel great. Honestly, those are. It might be kind of a weird thing to say, but those hits feel kind of good sometimes in the middle of the game because you see, your O-line's battling and out. There's guys. It's a very physical football game, and we play in the Big Ten, which is far and away the most physical conference in college football. And sometimes I look at myself in the mirror before games with that number 8 in the purple jersey and maybe psych myself into thinking I'm Lamar Jackson a little bit, but those usually just turn into 5-10 yard runs. So anyway, that was fun.
Matt?
You seemed a lot more composed in the pocket than you did in past weeks. I mean, granted, you did play Tulane and Oregon, two of the toughest teams in the country, but did the bye week give you some sort of mental switch to where you put on, I'd say, one of the best halves of the season so far this year?
The bye week for us last week was a great reset as a team. We had a chance to recover both mentally and physically from the first 3 games of the year, and so I feel like going into this game we were very well prepared, felt really good about the game plan, and we were able to execute as a whole.
For as much as Griffin has really succeeded as the team's lead receiver, it seems like you're still really looking for another option, at 2 and 3, and made some personnel changes, but, I think between Drew and Hayden, it was 3 catches for -4 yards. What are some ways you can get those guys more involved and get more production down the depth chart at receiver?
Definitely doing my part of when there's a opportune time to get them the ball. Definitely doing my part and hitting them in stride, giving them accurate throws. Griffin's been our guy for the first 4 games, but I have just as much confidence in those guys and the rest of the room. So, going forward, we're gonna be leaning on that whole room.
Anything else for Preston? Cool. Thanks, Preston.
Thanks, y'all.
We'll right into questions for Caleb. Chris?
How you feeling after 27 carries?
I was just in the cold tub, just trying to get my body back right. But I feel pretty good.
Matt?
Did you expect that level of workload, or you and Joe pretty much split carries last game? Did you go in thinking that this could be the kind of game where you're getting the ball 27 times?
Not originally, but just trusting what the coaches had instilled and what their game plan was, and just dominate the process and what we had to do to get the victory.
How early did you get the sense that this was going to be this type of a game for you?
I wasn't really focused on it. I was just running the ball the best I could, honestly. To be honest with you, just getting the ball and just trying to get downhill, make the most of each carry, like AT says, and that's pretty much it.
Back here?
Going into the game, UCLA's run defense has struggled a little bit. What was the game plan, especially in terms of running the ball and trying to get the win today?
I would say, just sticking to who we are, just running the ball, being focused on that, focusing on what our game plan was necessarily, not really UCLA, and just being dominant in every play that we have as an offense.
Caleb, Griffin said that the guys have started calling you Caleb the Beast Komolafe. I'm curious, what do you think about that nickname, and do you think it's going to stick?
I honestly don't know if it's going to stick, and it's an interesting nickname that they came up with.
Chris?
Ever since Cam Porter goes down, that's a tough blow for that running back room. But I was curious, ever since that game, you and Joseph have kind of formed this 1-2 punch. What makes you two so? What makes you two so good as a 1-2 punch?
Just the preparation we do in the off season. I say it started with all 3 of us, obviously, and with Cam going down, he focuses on us. Coach Braun focused on next man up mentality, and me and Joe know ultimately we got to step up. We got to be the best we can be on the field for our offense.
All right.
Coming out of high school, you were more heavily recruited as a safety. So what does it mean now just to have this level of a game in Big Ten play as a running back?
Honestly, I never really care what position I really play. So just being the best I can be for my team is ultimately what I'm happy with.
What do you make of the performance of your offensive line today, and how much confidence do you gain as a runner running behind an O-line of that caliber?
Those boys are dominant, and I trust them with my life. So, every play when I go out there, when we call a run play, I'm excited. We're excited. And then it goes to the preparation we do in practice, the extra time we do watching film, and we know that we're going to be successful.
Anything else? Awesome. Thanks, Caleb.
Thank you.